I'd like to call this meeting of the Golf Committee to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have a quorum. One person has an excused absence, Patty, and otherwise everybody else is here. Approval of the minutes of January 12th. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, they'll stand approved as read. First item is golf operations. Pat.
Very good. All right, good afternoon, everybody. I have a few slides that kind of recaps the last 30 days or so. I wanted to start off by mentioning our tournaments. Again, I've shared this schedule with you the last couple months. It's always good to review. We just finished up our Marvelous Night for a Moon Dance and Couples Therapy and our Glendale, Arizona Super Bowl event, and that was just this past weekend. And we've got a few more events scheduled. The men's match play has been increased from 72 players to 96. Just talked to Paul today, and we've got 2 or 3 teams left to fill, and then that will be complete, as well as the Sun City West Classic. So things are looking pretty good as far as events. Next slide, we have results from our couples therapy over at Stardust. This was well attended. Being a executive course, we limited this to, I believe, 88 players. And you might recognize some names up there, but it was well attended. That was a pretty good day. It was a little chilly, but it was all in all a pretty good day. Still looking for that $5,000 hole-in-one. We just can't seem to give that away. A couple pictures, some people you might know, some winners, some just regular players. Then we roll into the Glendale, Arizona Bowl Scramble. It was, like I mentioned, last Saturday. Along with that, we do a squares game. Part of your tee gift is a $5 squares game. And winners get quarter payouts at $125 per quarter, and that's paid out in gift cards through the rec center. We had some people dress up for the occasion. And again, 128 players played in that event. And again, a shutout on that $5,000 hole-in-one. So I feel it's coming up, though. We're going to get it. And the entry forms for the next 2 events. The match play is a great little event. It's a round robin. We break you into 6-team flights, and you play best ball amongst your flight. So you play 27 holes the first day, 18 the next day. So you're playing each team in your flight once. Points are accumulated, and that determines the winner. That's a lot of fun. And then the Classic is a 2-day event as well, and that'll be over at Trail Ridge and Grandview. Just a reminder to everybody, we do have our own separate database that we solicit for golf specific events or specials or programs. So if you're on this, that's great. I hope you are getting some emails from us. I've gone as far as advertise some corporate or charity events through this because they're hosting the event at one of our golf courses. I get approached all the time, hey, can you send this out? We're doing an event at name the course X, and we say no, if it's not at our event, I'm really not going to send it out because that's kind of a conflict of interest. We did send out a Briarwood email a while ago, but that was a favor to the membership department over there because it was a dining membership, and we want, and again, this is our attitude, is we want them to succeed, because I'd hate to have 120 acres of open land out there in the middle of our town. That doesn't do our property value any good. So Briarwood has got a service and a product that we want to see succeed, and we'll do what we can. But again, even if it was a golf tournament, I wouldn't solicit it for a golf tournament. So if you're not on our email list, please reach out and we'll get you on that. Call center numbers, try to keep you updated on this. Please remember, one of the updates that we did this year, or improvements, was we added staff Saturday and Sunday morning. You can see that the numbers are growing on a monthly basis. Average calls per month are going up. I looked at the sheet yesterday. They did almost 400 calls yesterday, so we're seeing even a further increase in calls. And this is really helping us keep our tee sheets filled as best we can. And appreciate everybody's support of this program, because it's just kind of streamlining how people make tee times, making it easier. And that's the key. How tough is it to get a tee time? And the easier you make it, the better off you are. So 8 people on our staff, and they're doing a wonderful job for us this year. Wanted to share this with you. Green Team, sometimes Green Team gets lost on the value of the Green Team from a financial standpoint. These are numbers that total number of players on a Saturday morning that come out and play 9 holes. I was just putting a pencil to it. As far as value, the 230 players is equivalent to almost $6,500 of green fee revenue, while the 366 players is almost $10,000 worth of revenue in just green fee. That doesn't include range balls or a beer afterwards or what have you. But that's just a Saturday morning 9-hole play for the most part. Sometimes it's a little chilly, as we've experienced the last couple months, but they're there rain or shine, and they do a good job. Kathy and Jerry really manage that quite well. I wanted to share this with everybody. This is something, I know we beat the drum on this, and we all get tired of hearing this, but a couple things that are important on this. One, in order to keep our golf courses in the best playing shape, we do need people to use that 90 degree as best as possible. 15 to 30 feet is also a key one, just because none of us like to hit off hard pan in the middle of the fairway, on the edges of the green. And that's the inconvenience to us as golfers. The cost side of it is, and I think most of you will remember that when Todd went through the COVID scenario a few years ago, the amount of sod that he had to replace in the summer was quite a bit more than what he had done in previous years, because we had more than 3 carts in a group. So the damage is extended into the summer, because although the ryegrass might look pretty good, that dormant Bermudas, there's nothing underneath it. So now there's bare spots out there. It's just saves the sod, saves the labor, saves the time that somebody on his staff could be doing something else to make the golf course better. And I think this is important for us. You know, all of us in this room, we need to have influence on our group and say, hey, Bill, hey, Sally, that's not where that cart needs to be. And just educate our golfers, one golfer at a time, with this. And it's nice to be able to drive as close to the green and tee as you can, but it doesn't take that many repetitions in the same spot to wear out an area. So just asking for everybody's help in trying to alleviate some of the challenges of this on our golf courses. David Aaron's Golf Lab, still doing a wonderful job for us. He's planning on staying open during the closure this summer at Grandview. He'll relocate at the other driving ranges if he has to fit somebody, but he's planning on doing a lot of his fitting indoors. He's got an upcoming event tomorrow, 9 o'clock to 2 p.m. at Grandview. So if you get a chance, I've had a chance to hit that Aerojet driver. It's quite quite the thing. It's an improvement. So there's some events that he's trying to put together, and this is one of them that's coming up. And then moving into this, Harry, is this something we want to talk about now, or do you want to wait? This is going to be the budget. Do you want us to hold off on this until Todd?
let's do that all at the.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back up and we can discuss. Okay. So that's what I've got for right now. Still looking for some employees, custodians and ball pickers. So anybody that you know and somebody who knows somebody would love to have them. All right. That's what I have before the budget anyway.
Are there any questions at the present time for Pat from the committee?
Okay.
Dennis?
Thank you. Yes.
Just one question.
Yeah.
Do we insure the $5,000 hole-in-one?
We do. Went up from 150 to 180 this last year. So we get it's about $1 and a quarter a person that we budget for those, and just can't seem to give it away.
Are there any questions for Pat from the 500 people in the audience? Seeing none, we'll next go to Todd. Todd?
All right, great, thank you. Just today I have a few updates for you. Frost delay updates, Grandview project update, that's just coming right around the corner. And then just to show you the proposed capital improvement projects and our equipment replacement plan that we're proposing for this new budget, 23-24. So, frost delays. You can see on the right there, that's a screenshot that we took off of the Weather Underground, and you can see the temperatures, and this was on January 24th. You can see up there, Desert Trails, you have a 28 at Pebblebrook, 30, 31, so that was a cold morning. One thing I'd like to point out that this was taken at 7:38 in the morning, so you know that an hour earlier, it was quite a bit cooler than that. So we've had some really cold temperatures. The picture on the left-hand side, that's number 9 at Echo Mesa. You can see it's visible frost out there. In fact, it looks like snow. So I kind of like that when we have a frost delay where you can actually see the frost out there on the ground, because I get challenged all the time. Oh, there's no frost out there. Well, that's frost out there. So, all right, here's just a chart. November through January, we had 16 days of restrictions and 16 days of frost delays. And then so far this month, we've had 3 days of restrictions and 4 days of frost delays. And I think we have a few more coming up tomorrow. I think we're gonna have a frost delay and probably on Saturday. And then hopefully we'll warm up a little bit, but it looks like another cold front's gonna be moving through next week, give us another blast of cold air. So we may be in the frost delays or the restrictions again next week. And then just a side note, the golf courses, with all this cool weather, the golf courses in the month of January, we only use 7 acre-feet of water, 1 acre-foot per golf course. So I don't know if that's an all-time low, but it's pretty close. So that's really good for our water usage. And then there's just the calendar for January, the shaded areas blocked off. That just shows you where we had a restriction or cart path or frost delays. So you can see we ended up the last part of the month, we had a string of them, and then we went right into February with the same. So. All right, our Grandview project, just a little bit of detail on that. There's our timeline. Not much has changed. We've started taking delivery of irrigation pipe, and if you've been by Grandview, played Grandview, or been over on Meeker, you've seen the pipe behind number 17. Some of the other locations that we've been dropping pipe, behind number 5 green, right-hand side of number 11T, behind 6 green, behind 13 green, and an area just outside of the maintenance yard are our drop-off points right now. And so we do have some more pipe that will be delivered over the next few weeks. There's a picture of the pipe there. You can see the 8-inch main line. That's what's going to be used throughout the golf course. It will be 18-inch main line coming out of the pump station, so that's a really big pipe. 2-inch lateral, you can see we received 2 trucks that day, or 12 miles of pipe. And I figured out that could run from here to Luke Air Force Base, if you put it in and laid that out, okay? And then you can see our main lines, that picture on the right, they're in 50-foot sections. And each one of those sections weighs about 420 pounds, and each of the coils, the 2-inch lateral coils, weighs over 1,200 pounds. So I don't think we have any concerns about it walking away. Somebody's not going to come in overnight and put that on in the back of their truck or anything, so I think it's very safe. The other good thing is the polyurethane pipe, it has no recycle value like copper or some other materials, so they can't take it down and try to get some extra money for that. There's no value to it at all, so that's going to help keep it safe. The contractor has started fusing some of the sections of main line, and this pipe will be placed along the wall on the left-hand side of number 17, as it does that, okay? And then road crossing main lines are still scheduled to go in early next month. So I would say either first or second week. We had a meeting today and kind of get everything in order. Like I said, that project's right on our doorstep, so it's gonna be here before you know it. All right, on to our capital improvement projects proposed. You can see we have a shoreline repair over at Stardust on hole number 14 for $231,000. Now we're gonna, $105,000 of the grant money is gonna go to offset that $231,000. Irrigation design work at Echo Mesa for $206,000. We're looking at starting that project in year 2025. Car pass slurry seal at Grandview after the project. There's gonna be some damage out there, hopefully not too much, but they'll repair that, but we didn't wanna do a seal on that car path until everybody pulls out and they're out of there. And then lake aeration replacement on Grandview number 6 and number 8 for $23,000. So our total capital proposed is $549,000 too. Our equipment replacement plan, golf maintenance, the equipment, $985,000. We have a total of 18 units. If you break that out, that's $140,000 per unit, or per course, I should say, okay? And then our replacement utility carts, $169,000. We have 7 of those scheduled for $24,000 per course. So our total replacement cost is $1.1 million for equipment this year. And that concludes my report today. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to.
Are there any questions for Todd from the committee?
You want to put some of that pipe on hole 13, that's fine.
Okay.
Dennis?
Todd, a resident asked me, how come we're starting the Grandview project in April when there's still a significant number of snowbirds here? Couldn't we wait till May, till a lot of the people leave?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is a huge project, and we have a very tight window to finish everything. We need to be completed with the irrigation and the desert landscaping before overseeding. And so we can't delay that overseeding, because then we're going to delay the opening on the other end. So there's really no way there's not an easy way to do this. And so we want to be able to overseed the golf course in time and then open it on schedule. All right.
Any other questions? Tim? Seeing none, we'll
All right, thank you.
then go to, I guess, back to Pat.
All right, let's see here. All right, we've started the budget process. Last month, we handed out rate comparisons to golf courses in our area. And we see that a lot of them, in fact, all of them are going up in their rates. And we've, in the past year or so, seen some rate increases as well. So we're having to reevaluate where we are for this next fiscal year. I handed out our current rate sheet just so that you have a reference point. Cliff and Bill are at a torch presentation, and they are working on this behind the scenes, very adamantly. But I wanted to bring some points of discussion up and kind of give you a feel on what needs to happen in order for this budget to go forward and to be complete and to be accurate. So we're still seeing increases in gas, utilities, wages, benefits, workers' comp, sales tax, and credit card fees. To the tune of, if we kept everything the same as it is this year, we've got a $600,000 shortfall. Okay? So how do we increase that 600,000? And it's actually more than that. They covered 179, 180,000 of it, but the difference is 600,000. So to have the things that they need to have happen, money being deposited for capital improvements in future years, next year, and so forth, this is where we are. So what we came up with is, how do we increase the 600,000 with a minimal amount of pain to the residents? So it's a numbers game. It's economies of scale. So we look at the public green fees, and we do have some ability and some movement upward that we can go. But how much is that? Originally, we proposed in our meetings, we were looking at $9. And when you see this increases to peak season public green fees, 7, 4, and 2, that means 7 for prime time, 4 for twilight, and 2 for super twilight. That would be across the board for public play the months of October through May. In doing so, that's 300,000. So I mentioned originally we talked about $9. Well, $9 gets it to $70. I like the sound of 68 or 69 better than 70. Now you add a cart fee onto that 70. Now you're at 88. Now if they're true public, we have a 6.3% tax increase. So you're over $90, $94 for a public player to play here. And that scares me, because the public play component to our revenue is in excess of $2 million. And I've always found that I was successful getting that person to come back more than once and keep having them come back because they find it a good value for the price that they pay. And it's a lot easier to make money when you've got them coming back routinely rather than once every 6 weeks. So there's a trade-off there. And so we settled on 7 because we feel with the rec center that there's some other places that we can increase at a slight increase that will still accomplish the same goals of 600,000. So increasing the resident rate $1 across the board. And this is just from a philosophical standpoint. What we're trying to do is to get your thoughts on this and see if this is the direction we want to go and get some input. But if we did that from October to May, that's $170,000 based on the rounds played. Now these numbers that we're looking at are based on 326,000 rounds, which is what we did 2 years ago. Last year we did 333,000 rounds. The original budget for this year was based on 320,000. I'm kind of partial to that 320, but the 326 is very doable. And again, we're as good as the weather, correct? When the weather's good, 326 shouldn't be a problem by any means. But when we start fighting the weather, it's a crapshoot. Unlimited and public frequent play cards, we're looking at a 3 to 5% increase there, is what we've kind of honed in on. Range ball increase, $3 for 30 balls. Just reminder to everybody, we're getting 7 new range ball dispensers in May, June of this year, and there's some flexibility that we have with them. We can adjust the prices. If we wanted to do a happy hour range price at 4 o'clock, we've got abilities to do that. Mr. Hansel mentioned public key prices. This will be like a debit card rather than a key going forward. But we can look at bumping that price up a little bit too. But if we added $1, it's $100,000 in increased revenue. And then probably the one that's the most sensitive, right? Beer prices going from 9 to 10 and from 12 to 13 based on domestic versus imported beer. And then looking at the can prices. We've got a mixture of 12 ounce and 16 ounce. That's why you're seeing some price differential there. Could also be, we do Mike's Hard Lemonade. So there's different price points. and we're looking at going up 50 cents a can on items such as that. So collectively, that's another $50,000. So rather than putting the burden all on the public, and again, there's some opportunity there, this is what we looked at, is spreading it out, trying to definitely take care of the residents, and try to make this as painless as possible. So those are my thoughts from the budget standpoint. Would love to hear what you have to say.
Okay, with that, we'll open it for questions. I think we'll start with Gary and just work our way all the way around. Gary?
Pat, thanks.
Yes.
I appreciate everything you're doing, and I totally agree with, I have a couple questions on, first of all, is on the current rate sheet, because I've been asked this multiple times, and it will be the same, I'm sure, on the future one, but as an example, the public play rate, or the member rate, I guess, right now is like $42 on 18 holes, but the Kachina card is $23. You know, and I've been approached before about, the thought process is it's supposed to be 50%. Please tell me that it isn't, because obviously it isn't.
Right.
But when the rates were set, the Kachina card, Coyote card, et cetera, were not set as a percentage.
No. So, and Mr. Hurley was in on those discussions. That's what, 4 or 5 years ago, I guess. So at one time, it was kind of random. It was just kind of across the board. We tried to get with Tony, our CFO at that time, was trying to get some uniformity to it. And so we settled on this 75%, 50%. And we're trying to use that as a guide. And that's one of the things that we'll look at when we talk about spreading this. Does it make sense to increase this component? And we're very fortunate because we got some really complete, accurate data that we can apply these and play the what if game. You know, what does $1 to Kachina look like? What is $2? What is $1 to Coyote? And we can play with that. Is it written anywhere that we have to be 75% and 50%? No.
Okay.
But one of the things we're trying to do is not double dip the resident by increasing the card price and then increasing the pay at the window price. We'd like to do one or the other, and we can play those games and see, but we're really looking at the multiplier effect of rounds with a $1 increase. You know, if you add 3% to a card, that's only so much, but if you add 3% to a green fee and you've got 325,000 rounds, that starts adding up pretty quick. So please understand that'll be looked at, and we'll try to keep that as much intact as we can, but with rounding and things like that, it's going to vary a little bit.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I'm sure this was put into effect way before I was a member of the board, so I wasn't there for the initial discussions of if it was a certain percentage, but I get asked that.
Yeah,
it's easy to see.
it was never written that way, but in trying to create some uniformity to it and to make it easy to explain, that's what it evolved to.
Okay.
Do we want to push that aside? No, but it's got to make sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Second's on the range balls.
Yeah.
Because you know I'm a big user of range balls, and I have no problem with the 30 or $3 for 30 balls. You know, I know one of your problems in the past is disappearance of range balls.
Sure.
A variety of places, which, you know, it's my firm belief, you know, that the majority of those balls are in golf carts, in garages at all times of years, of course. And won't this, however, raise that same problem? Because now it's 30 balls. I mean, I know.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to raise it. I think it'll maybe keep it the same. Okay.
Okay.
You know, baskets and balls, you're not buying these balls, you're renting these balls. When you rent something, it's not yours. You need to keep it where it is. That's my soapbox, but that's not the reality of it, right? We would like for people to keep it here because, again, these are your driving ranges, these are your balls, meaning the organization is buying all this. We're just trying to manage it and keep the costs to a minimum. So I don't think it's going to increase it. I just think that, again, the philosophy of, and I don't get it. I really don't, because it takes me 60 balls to warm up, to be honest with you. But I get it. It's a warm up, and you got 15. Sharing it with your playing partners, whatever. That's the group. But we would like for those to stay on property and reduce the costs, because range balls are going up another 15%.
And what does that amount to?
15% of what we purchased is going to be about $4,500.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So again, we in the budget process, we took out money for range balls and equipment at Grandview and Desert Trails going forward, because they're going to be closed. So we say, okay, and we do a really good job of sharing this stuff. When those courses closed, we empty those ball machines, and guess what? Those balls end up at Pebble Brook and the other golf courses. So we try to manage that as best we can. Okay. So, but I appreciate your comments and anything you can do to keep those balls on that driving range.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I could patrol all the golf courses at any given time and probably collect you 20 or 30,000 back, I'm sure.
Thank you, Gary. Donna?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of pushback on the cost of the golf cart rentals?
Not
Because
as-
I've heard it from outside players, like they thought the rate was really good, but
Yeah.
then when they added the golf cart on, they were just like
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. It's if you were to survey the courses around here, it's one of two things. They're either included in the green fee,
Right.
so they're not broken out, or it's $16 or $14. Is it a little bit higher than some? Yeah.
But that's what I was wondering. Why not just kind of bury it into the greens fee? So
We get enough that it's, we get some walkers, things
Okay.
of that nature. People bring in their own cart.
Mhm.
But, this was at a time when gas was going up, payroll's still going up in those areas. And I think that's the thing that kind of gets lost with the payroll and the benefits. 147 employees are in golf ops outside of Todd's World. 95% of those are minimum wage employees.
Right.
So I'm seeing that $2 increase across the board with all my staff. And that goes as far as my mechanic and all that kind of stuff. So our golf carts, for what they are, do a wonderful job of making us some money.
well, the new ones are nice. So
Yeah,
I've seen them.
yeah.
But I was just curious if you got any pushback.
It's not as, no.
Okay.
We don't hear it a lot. Every once in a while, but we don't.
Okay.
Thank you, Donna. Marilyn?
Sure.
Speak into your mic.
Sorry. On the liquor prices,
Yes.
I understand the pitchers
Yep.
going from 10 to 13. Is it wine is going from 3 to 450?
So the pitcher beers are going to go from 9 to 10 and from 12 to 13. Okay, because I've got a domestic and an import price.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so they're only going up $1 for the
Okay.
pitchers. The canned beer is going to go up 50 cents, and we'll look at wine and see if there's an alternative. We're going to try and keep that as minimal as we can, but it will go up.
Okay, because I just thought it looked like it was going from $3 to 450, and I said, I don't know anybody's going to pay 450 for that little thing.
Right. So
Because you can't buy a pitcher, all right?
right, so the $3 would be the 250 beer going to 3, like a Coors
Okay,
Light, and then
okay.
the 450 was maybe a $3.75 or a $4 can of beer, might go to
Okay.
4, and then we'll look at the wine as well.
Okay, great.
Okay, it won't. Let me put it this way: it won't go any different percentage than the beer.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Follow up to that, Pat. I got some other questions.
Sure.
But, do you know what our gross profit percentage is on beer? And has the cost of the beer gone up accordingly,
Yeah.
like everything else, so that it's all kind of staying in the same range?
Yeah, so, beer, we're exchanging dollars. We're buying beer, and we don't capture payroll hours and all that kind of stuff. If we did, it would be kind of a push on the beer and stuff like that.
Well, but I mean, just the gross profit, the cost of the beer versus the sales price of the beer.
Sure. So we're at about 50%.
About 50%.
Yeah,
Okay. And the costs have increased, so
Correct.
it's still staying in about that range.
correct.
Okay, thank you. Tom?
I'm glad Tim's here, because I'm trying to go through my memory, and I don't know how many years ago it was when we went over, as we do every year, the pricing. And you had come in with, I think it was like $1 across the board, 12 months of the year.
Correct.
And Tim kind of threw brakes on it, and we settled, you guys had a special meeting, you came back, and we're back to just the winter.
Right.
Why are we not increasing the summer? What is the reason for not spreading this over to them?
Two reasons. One, we've got plenty of inventory in the summer months, and we're fighting everybody else because their prices go down significantly. So a Greyhawk, any of these clubs, and I think you'll find this when you talk to your friends that stay around here. A lot of our residents go and play elsewhere because they can play at a very low rate. So we have to keep our rates as competitive as possible for the outside player to play, okay? For our residents, if you feel that that's what we need to do, fine. But I think the opportunity for us is, 75 or 80% of our rounds get played in that October to May window. It's the other 6 months that are 20% of our rounds. We can attack it through the number of rounds played, maximize the revenue.
So do you have any idea, how many years has it been now that we have not increased the residence rates in the summer?
This might be the second year.
I mean, I'm looking at it from the perspective of the people that are snowbirds, of which I am partly. And it's like, okay, we're paying more when we're here, and they're getting it cheaper, the people that live here year round. It's $1 a round, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but I'm just looking at the perspective of it, and are we leaving some money on the table by doing this?
We could, right, I mean, it's a tough product to sell at 110 regardless of the price. But we can sure look at that. We'll bring it back, absolutely.
Any other question, Tom? Thank you. Lisa?
No, I think I'm good. Marilyn covered my questions. Thank you, Marilyn. You're up, Dennis.
Pat,
Dennis?
I just wanted to mention that
Yeah.
golf is a choice. And we should be structuring any increase based on our total anticipated increase of revenue. And as I've talked to you before, I'm all about dynamic pricing.
Right.
And I think we have to have flexibility, because if we jump up greens fees $7 a round and we're just not getting the play, 100% of nothing is not 80% of something.
Right, and I appreciate that. Yeah, that's
Okay.
one of the things that I would really like to see going forward, is that ability for us to be able to, and again, we'll protect the resident prices. Our goal is not to have the ability to undercut what the residents are playing. That would be the bottom, or even a percentage above that would be the bottom. But sometimes, today's a perfect example. It's a little chilly out there. We're getting cancellations. But if there's an opportunity to get on the tee sheet, instead of $61, we go to 55, or we go to 49, anything above 41, right? And we can get a few of those rounds and maximize that. Absolutely. That's how we're going to win at this.
And the other side of the ledger hasn't been talked about, and that's the expenses, including the annual cost of player assistance and the people that work for the telephone bank. If there's some way to restrict the hours of those particular functions, that would obviously reduce cost.
So call center, 8 employees, average 15 hours a week. PAs work anywhere from 12 to 15 shifts a month. 4 to 6 hours. My average PA is working probably 16 hours a week. So obviously no overtime. In fact, I just hired my last two. I hadn't been fully staffed since October. But yes, to your point, anytime there's a frost delay or rain delay, they don't come in until the pro shop asks for them. So we control hours pretty well. I think the thing to remember is when we start doing 50,000 rounds at a facility and not having a PA out there, you're going to notice that big time. And that's what we see is there's a, and again, you can have your own thoughts about the PA program, but 120 acres out there, nobody managing that, nobody working that, whether they were successful or not, at least they were out there trying to work the system or work the problem. That is huge, especially for repeat play. And that's all we're trying to do is get everybody around in a reasonable amount of time. And I mean, I'll ask all of you, when was the last time you played a 5-hour round out here? Okay? That's what you're going to get if you don't have a PA. So there's a benefit, but there's a cost to it. And minimum, I can't do it any cheaper. Minimum wage, no payroll or no overtime, and we watch their hours. That's the best I can do. So, yeah, appreciate the comment though.
Pat, I don't know the situation as far as Grandview, and this was brought up to me, I guess, with the beer pricing. Is that I can understand where all the rest of the locations would have an impact on the beer situation, but what about Grandview? Is that somewhat different?
It is.
Okay.
So Grandview is a third party. It's a lease agreement, right?
Right.
So we can't mandate what he charges. I guess we can unofficially, but over the since COVID, he's experienced what everybody else has, supply chain issues, costs going up. If you remember, there were hours curtailed because he couldn't get staff. So he charges a little bit more. We've always tried to be tied in to the pricing the same, but at this point in time, he's having to go up just because of his increase in expenses. So we're hoping that we can get back to that at some point where whatever you pay at Desert Trails would be the same at Grandview, but with the costs the way they are, he's just got to do what he's got to do. And I'll share this with you. At one time, ever since he's been here, and Todd could probably tell us how long that's been, 15 or 20 years, he's always extended like free coffee or a free soda out of the fountain to the starters that are working. About 9 months ago, he said, "I'm sorry to do this, but I can't do that anymore for you guys. It's just, these things are just killing me. Between the cups and the soda and all that kind of stuff," he says, "I can't do it for you." And we said, "We surely understand. Thanks for doing what you did for us, but take care of yourself first." But we try to align it. These prices that you're finding in beer and wine and soda will also be tied into the bowling alley as well. So it'll be consistent. It wouldn't be, hey, go over here because they've got the greatest prices and avoid these people. We'll make it consistent. Okay.
Al, any other question?
No, that's it.
Okay, I got a couple for you, Pat.
Sure.
First one is on the outside play. I agree totally with taking those prices up. In your comparisons, you compare what the guest fee would be for those people in Grand to stay there and play. It's still, if somebody comes in and a snowbird into Grand and they'll come over here and play because of the difference in rates. Has there ever been a study done? Where are most of our outside player guests coming from? I would assume Portobello, Grand, and the new outlying areas.
Yeah, Vistancia is another place where they come from. But Grand and Portobello, yes.
And of course, in the comparisons, I saw nothing on Portobello, so I don't know what their rates are. But I think with what you're doing, showing the rates compared to what a guest would have to pay in Grand to a guest here,
Right.
even if they're going to rent a cart, they're going to have to rent a cart over there too.
Right.
That they're still, it's a lot better price for their money to come play a better course.
Yeah. Yeah. But and I think Dennis might have mentioned it. This is entertainment for people, you know, and you got to throw it all into it. Is it a spring training game? Is it a movie? Is it a round of golf? So we have a lot of competition in this. And once you get to certain levels, you start, and I'm just thinking about the working stiff guy or gal who's working Monday through Friday and has to show up on Saturday to play, or does choose to show up on Saturday to play. And now all of a sudden they're looking at $95. And I'm thinking to myself, if I had 2 kids and a wife at home and I think that might cut me from once a week to maybe, or once a month to maybe twice a month, or 4 times a month to twice a month. And I think it's easier to get that person to come back and play rather than creating a new customer. And that's what you're going to have to deal with is, okay, this person played his 1 round a month. Where are we going to get next weekend's player from, and how are we going to do that? So we're all in there together. We are a great value. We've got a great product. But once you get to a certain point, it's no longer that great value anymore. And I hope I'm surprised. I hope that 99% of the people say, that's not a problem, I'll pay that same rate. I just think that when we raise it up certain levels, 69 for a green fee being one, 61 to 69, people are going to start looking elsewhere. And they're going to start saying, you know, it's not Trail Ridge, but it's close enough and I saved $10. And I don't want to have that conversation. There's going to be a percentage fallout regardless of what we do when we start going up, and I want to minimize that as best we can.
Okay, the second one, we talked about the beer. I think the only thing I could say on beer costs, because the cost in the grocery store is going up also.
Sure.
That we got to be cognizant to knowing a lot of the people in Sun City West and that how much beer will start appearing in golf bags.
Sure. Sure.
And the last one is, and you touched on it, which is great, is I think in presentations going forward, we need to discuss expenses as well as increasing income. Because everybody sits out there and they look, well, they're talking about dues going up here, increasing the rates here, and be sure to put out, here's what we've done in the expense category. We've analyzed this, i.e. the player assistance. We think this needs to be done. We've analyzed our fertilizer costs, our range ball costs, and here's why. So that people get an idea that it's just not, we're going to go to the well again and ask for more money.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And in all these meetings, I can verify, we treat these budgets like it's our own money. If, you know, one of the things that we grew up in the environment was if you're not making the revenue, that affects your expenses. And our attitude has always been, at least here and prior in my department, is if my revenue's not there, I've got to start cutting my expenses. If the revenue's there, this is my budget for expenses. And so we have that attitude that, let's just say we're at 90% or 85%. In golf ops, we're hoping that our expenses match that. Now, capital's a different world because you've committed to buy those things, and that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get it to a point where we're still funding that capital budget so that Todd can do his improvements and his equipment and the carts or whatever I have. We can retire a 15-year-old cart and buy a new one, those types of deals. So we're very aware of that, and I got to say, Bill and accounting are very much saying, you know, how does this affect both the revenue side and the expense side? So yes, we do look at that.
Thank you. Any comments, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wondered, food-wise, I mean, we're talking about alcohol and stuff, but do you make any profit food-wise? I mean, to raise prices of maybe the hot dogs, the hamburgers, things like that?
I'll put it, and it's been a while since I've measured it this way. For every round of golf at Pebblebrook, we took in 50 cents for food and beverage. Okay? We took in $1 for beer and wine. So if we did 40,000 rounds, we did 20,000 in food, and we did 40,000 in beer and wine. So it's not the moneymaker that you think. It's more of an amenity than anything else, but we want to have that, and we want to be as competitive as possible. It wasn't that long ago that we increased the prices of a hot dog, and again, it's we're trying to sell what we can at the price that it needs to be sold at, but at certain times, we've just got to bump it up. Size of the cookies, the number of cookies, we go through all these gyrations and say, you know, what makes sense here? But it doesn't make sense to sell cookies for less than what we're getting it for. We got to go up, and to think that any of that stuff we're just making a killing, it's not. You know, we struggled going from a candy bar from $1 to $1.25. I mean, it's like we're buying the candy bar for 87 cents. When it's all said and done, we're not making anything on that candy bar. We hope nobody steals one, right? So it's we're very aware, and you'll never see anything go from $1 to $2 or $2.50 to $5. I mean, that's not us. We've got to go through those gyrations of making it acceptable. But it's tough at times. So we bite the bullet and say, okay, let's see how long we can do it, or can we shorten the glass, or can we, you know, the candy bars get smaller, but the price, it's just a challenge. It is. So I think you need to understand that we look at those things pretty seriously and say, $1.25 for a candy bar, we're going to hear it, but we got to do it. Yeah. So, all right.
Okay, thank you, Pat.
So what we're planning on doing is putting numbers to this and spreading it out, and then giving Terry, I'm going to say Cliff was going to spread it out, get everybody's thoughts on it, and then share it at the B&F committee first, I believe, correct? Okay. And then we'll get it, once they get their feedback, we'll get it into the golfers' hands.
And then, so at the next meeting,
Yes.
that we will make the final recommendation from this committee. So,
Well, I think we need to,
We need to make a recommendation.
You need
Oh,
the recommendation.
today.
so
Okay.
we're good to go forward with this philosophy, and then we'll spread it? Will that work, Karen?
Do we,
Give me some sort of wording, because I want to be sure we're all on the same page.
Okay.
all those in favor of making the recommendation to go forward with the proposal as is, signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Majority says it's going forward.
Okay.
And is this wording, just to be sure, Pat, the wording on this slide is more or less?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm going to open up, Terry, anything I'm missing? Anything that we want to say different? Okay. All right.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Are there any outstanding issues that needs to be brought up to the committee? Okay, seeing none, any comments from the committee before we adjourn the meeting? Dennis?
I just want to commend this committee. I don't know how many committees I've watched where there are no questions, where there should be questions. And this committee is truly engaged and asks very, very relevant and important questions. So I don't know if it's Harry's leadership or just the composition of the character of the people in the committee, but well done.
Any other comments from the committee? Lisa?
Pat, I would like to commend you and the group, whoever worked on putting this together, the proposal on the rate increase. I know it's difficult, and I too, I'm with you. I am a little nervous on, with the outside play that comes in here, but I think, it's something that definitely has to be done. And so I support you guys, and I appreciate all the hard work that you put into this, so thank you. Mhm.
Okay, it's now open for comments from the audience. So, Tim, any comments?
Yeah, I just want to make the comment that, as we heard at the board workshop the other day, the pain that this is going to bring is being felt by everybody. I mean, if you look at the hurdles that we're up against on the expense side for next year, it's going to touch everybody. And I am glad that, in fact, I interrupted one of their meetings today where they were in there looking at what they could cut. So we're not done with it yet by any means, but we have a long way to go. And like I say, it's going to touch everybody. So good job. Thanks.
Any other comments? Gary?
Just one more. You know, I think your point about having Pat talk somewhat more about the expense side is a pretty good thing to talk about, because you're right. I think everybody out there will always feel that we're gonna look at the revenue side only, but we don't get explained. We do, but I'm not saying the citizens of our community get to see what's actually happening to the expenses, and maybe in more detail. So I think your comment was right on.
Thank you. Seeing none, I have got, it's about 2:25, and the meeting is 26, and the meeting is adjourned.
Karen's gonna make you say 2:26.